I'm glad you came to Deep Stoic. You're here because of the talk today. Could change the way you see about yourself and how other people see you. Here's the thing that truly smart guys have. I have a secret. It's not about having everything. The facts, or being aware of the capital of each country's real power, is that they know when to shut up. Close your mouth sometimes. What you don't say says more about you than any smart saying study for years, and never could old and new people through the view of being patient and by drinking too many, having coffee and watching human nature happen in real life time. And I'll tell you about the smartest men I've known that they share something, they don't have to rush to say anything. There was quiet, and they never said anything. Things that wear them down, believe it. So let's talk about 7 things today. Smart men never say not because they have no flaws, but after. Sometimes I had to learn the hard way that these words don't get you anywhere. Click that subscribe button and let's learn more together. 1. I already know there's a phrase that comes out more often than we'd like. I have to say I already know how it sounds safe, even sure of itself. But what it really shows is something much less giving a closed head, and an smart man knows more than he lets on. That the moment we make up our minds, we have learned everything we need to know. Shut the door on growth, I learned. I learned this the hard way many years ago. Having a guide, a man who carried being sure of himself in a quiet way, someone who had been through enough fights to speak occasionally, we were going over a process I did 100 times before he started putting something in words. And before I knew it, I cut him off with, yeah. I already know he looked at me. Quiet but heavy. And they moved on after that. I knew what I had done that evening, I just cut him off. But I stole from myself of the chance to hear what he saw, that I didn't everything he had learned over the years, things that weren't written in instructions, in books, or in training videos. I hadn't lived long enough to do those things. Know what we mean when we say, I already know. What we're really saying is, there's nothing else to learn, right? That's not knowledge, that's arrogance dressed up. The clothes of skill and the Stoic theory of life. Marcus saw right through that lie. Aurelius made it clear that you can't. When you think you know everything, already understand what he meant. Was that our need to seem like an ego, aware of how to keep the image we've built, turns into the thing that blocks our growth. It makes us believe that we are on solid ground when we're really finding the right balance on pride. Smart men know that what they know is not putting the prize you win on a shelf, is a river that flows all the time. You change where you step in the same place. There are 2 times the water is different each time. I once saw an experienced carpenter listen to an apprentice with patience, telling them about a technique he had probably mastered decades before he said yes, and ask him questions, even thanked him for. I later asked him why he didn't share. Just tell the kid that he already knew that. He smiled and said, because sometimes hearing something is better than reading it. That's how someone else sees it. Being wise is a type of ability. That doesn't need to be shared. Should you ever feel like you've heard this before, take a deep breath and listen. Anyway, not because you want to be funny someone, but you could catch something different, a new part, a change in consider a nuance that makes your I get it. And even if you don't, you show humility when you practice it, respect, and that makes you over time someone who is worth hearing. That in Stoicism we call mastery of the self, the power to let go of pride, to make things clear. The strength to be a life is a school that never ends. That is the kind of smarts that lasts longer than the other 2. That's impossible. A few years ago I worked, along with a man named Robert. Sharp had been the kind of boss who seemed to hold the weight of the whole company on his shoulders without ever strained. But there was one phrase used a lot, almost like that's a reaction impossible every time a new idea came up. Whether it was an offer to enter a new market, streamline an old system, or even try to solve a tough problem client, he threw it out with those 2. At first, the words seemed useful. responsible, even though no one has time to chase pipe-waste dreams, but over time, something changed. Very clear every time he said it. That's not possible. It wasn't what he was talking about was himself, his own bounds, and his own fear of Stoics knew how to think this way. It was well written that we suffer more often in your mind than in real life. And that's exactly what Robert did. Wasn't looking at the situation fairly. He showed what he was afraid of, fear of failing on top of that fear of the unknown to fail because they are afraid of being wrong short. It's a quiet fear of the kind that it doesn't look at all like fear. The mask of sensible care usefulness, but underneath it is the very thing that keeps us small is the faith that if we can't see the whole road, somber, you shouldn't take the first step. Philosophy gets to the heart of this self-imposed stillness by telling that getting in the way isn't the issue. What we think about the problem that S defeats. We've seen this for real. There was a job I was work with Robert for a number of years. The time limit and cash were both tight. Shorter than what made sense, and the group I had never experienced anything reasonable in I was told it couldn't be done, but I didn't say that was impossible. I tried something different. I challenged myself. What can I change today? What's coming up? I can take one small step. That project turned out to be one of the best jobs I've ever had on, not because we did miracles, but because we wouldn't let ourselves be held back by the size of the problem. We stayed thought about the next step. And then the next Aurelius told you that you have power over not outside of your mind, things that happened. And that became the when a man says that's impossible, he's already admitting loss. The battle starts with smart men knowing that what often feels impossible is just unknown. Amar, that's not a wall. It's a step up the challenge. Moving forward, they know that strength is not built by always beating the enemy, but by being there over and over again when it looks like being stacked is what Stoic is all about. Courage, not silly hope, but in control. People often ask us what it means to be persistent in life, to do hard things, and the moment we write them down as impossible and shut the door on ourselves, but the person who learns to do what needs to be done next. Small opens doors that no one else sees. That's not just smart. That's wisdom formed in 3 hard work. That's not my mistake. One of the worst lines, that's not my fault, is something a man can say. It looks easy, but it's not always that way. Feels right in the moment when things go wrong at work. When you're in a relationship, it's normal to. We need to fight ourselves to make it. It's clear that someone is to blame, else. But here it is. Every time we let someone else take care of things, our strength with it, smart men get this. They've learned that very well. Responsibility isn't about who is to blame. It's about power and what to do if you don't want to take care of even a small thing. One of the problems is that you give up the chance to be a part of the answer. I saw this happen years ago when one of my friends, Michael, big client, he was quick to say why the client wasn't his fault. How hard it was for the market to shift his team, missed all of their due dates number of years. But while he was busy, why he shouldn't have blamed the chance to get better and learn from the mistake passed him by. And he got stuck saying the same mistakes made it clear that it was. There's always something else to fix. What he didn't know was that he wouldn't take any blame. So let go of the one thing that could have changed how he controlled what happened to him. The Stoics thought we should pay attention on the things we can control and let the rest go. Epictetus said it wasn't what took place, but how you react to it. That's important, and that's the key. We put that's not my fault. The power to make things different in someone else's hands. We wait for them to fix it, to make things right and do better, but when we let even a little bit of, we immediately take back our responsibility. We stop being inactive and take charge, actionable from weak to strong. It helped me in my own life to own no matter how small, it opens doors for me. didn't think it could be that easy before, as saying I didn't talk to them, obviously, or that I could have ready better, even if other people made them bigger. Being ready to make mistakes. Taking responsibility changes something inside you. It helps you trust yourself, and it shows those around you that you are a man who doesn't need to be saved or proved you're not to blame. It's simple. It's hard to be responsible, but taking responsibility is also a sign of strength. The Stoics tell us that our lives are not here to avoid trouble, but to above it, and the process of rising starts with, what can I do differently next? That's how smart men lead all the time, not by looking for weakness, but by how move forward. If you've learned these things useful, please let me know by leaving a message. Yes, I care about what you think below, and I'd love to hear from you. I don't need any. Please help me tell one of the worst lies. This is something a man can tell himself. I don't. If you need any help, it sounds good on the strong on the surface. It's a saying. We have been taught to admire even more so in a world that lauds the lone wolf and the self-made someone who goes their own way, and he carried his loads without complaining, but the truth is much less than that. The failure to ask for help is brave. It's not always a sign of strength, but of pride, a quiet poison, and it blinds us, separates us, and makes us think that fighting alone is over time. It wears away at morality and we think we're protecting resilience. By this came to mind when I read about Abraham Lincoln in the worst times of the Civil War. Historians sees him as a one figure standing stiffly, carrying the weight of a broken country on his shoulders. But what people often forget is the amount of weight Lincoln put on other people. He hung out with advisors who would push him. He looked for outviews that were different from his own. Not because he didn't believe in himself, but because he knew that being wise isn't born from you feel alone because of the guts to say you don't have all the answer questions. During the terrible conflict at Antietam, Lincoln famously went to see General Memelen, even though they didn't agree. Critical insight. He spent a lot of hours with his team are often called because he liked the team of rivals, their points of view, even when they clashed with his. This wasn't weakness. It was humility that showed how strong they were. Men who are smart learn this lesson. Eventually, being self-reliant was important, but it was never meant to be. The Stoics were very clear about one thing. I think this Marcus Aurelius was the most he wrote freely about a strong man of his time. About the debt he owed his teachers, he made a list of his teachers and friends. Thoughts about the things he had learned from each of them, recognizing how their wise words shaped his, who has the most power in the world, didn't act like it had all the tells, why should still? Many of us tell ourselves that asking for help means giving up that. When we reach out, it's because we're not strong enough, but that faith is a trap that keeps us locked up. Being slowly sucked into our own heads. We were never meant to deal with these problems alone. And what's worse, it takes away the people around us the chance to what they have when we don't ask for it. Help we keep other people from having the chance to give. We stopped helping each other. That I've fallen into that trap. I remember a time when I thought I had to do everything for work, family, and the constant stresses that come with trying to live up to a picture of strength. I believed that keeping it together meant I had to keep it to myself, and it only made me tired. Down the turning point when I finally told someone I trusted I wasn't able to do it. It wasn't judgment that I found on its own, but getting help and understanding that a moment of shame gave me strength. And the peace I had been missing for years. I know that real strength doesn't come from how long can you stand by yourself, being able to tell when to reach out, and Socrates taught us when to take a break. That we are a part of something bigger, are designed to work together to help each other. It's important to remember that no man is an island, and when we act like it's not there, fight the way things are supposed to be in life. Strength doesn't go down when you ask for it, defines help because it's asked for. It takes guts to ask for help. Being honest is one of the most important traits of a smart and wise man who knows that it's not noble to carry heavy loads by yourself. Without a reason, so the next time you feel that urge to say, I've got this, need someone to take a moment to ask, check to see if that's strength talking, or take pride in your disguise, and remember Lincoln, who led with knowledge and humility, fully aware that even the strongest men, I need other people to stand tall 5 as well. Old for that's one of the worst lies a man can tell. He can tell himself, I'm too old for that. It sneaks out quietly, sometimes in plain sight, as usefulness or even making fun of oneself funny. But there's something deeper going on, more of an acceptance or belief that the best parts are already written, and there isn't much left to gain from it. The kind of thinking that keeps people out. They are long before they need to be smart guys know that after the fact. In this case, the term isn't just limiting harmful, it causes a slow loss of plan, a quiet giving up of the life that's still there to be. I read about a man named Harry Bernstein, was 93 years old when working all his life as a magazine boss and start a family. He made the choice to write his first book, which he named The Invisible Wall, a memoir of his, growing up in a poor English town. It was split up by faith and bias. Several publishers turned it down before it came out. Finally got out. He was 96 years old at the time. That book was put on shelves. International praise turned into many languages that affect the lives of. He wrote 3 books for people all over the world. He didn't buy any more books after that. He told a lie that he was too old. He didn't tell himself it was too late. Was going to say or make something what he did that struck me the most. Harry's story didn't do well, but the courage to believe that he still had more to look forward to in life. 90s. He wasn't done growing. Finding out or that bravery isn't adding. Only guys like Harry can wear it. We all have to make choices every day, don't we? Pay attention to the voice that says, we missed our chance. Do we accept it's possible that as long as we have breath? What the Stoics taught us about age, Marcus Aurelius was a soul that cared nothing. Thought about this truth again himself that he will die, yes, but until then, it's our job to live as being as full and good as we are. He may have thought that knowledge often comes with age, not because of death years, but because those who stay, the brave and interested, deepen their being clear about time, doesn't stop growing as you get older. I've seen guys in their 60s learn how to ripen young people, learn new skills, and start businesses. There are leaders I've known who let the weight of sorrow and time finally win them over. Getting away from life. The difference is not the situation, but mind a man who tells me I'm too old for that, shut the door already. But a man who asks, what can I do now? Opens it. Again, age doesn't keep us from being eligible. When we live with courage, it gives us more to offer experience. Clarity, strength. These aren't signs that someone is done. They're someone's tools. Getting started, and that's the way to stay calm and keep learning, working hard right up until the last second. Because there is. As long as we are here, still need to work to be done if what you heard made sense. Also, please like this video. Don't forget to sign up because every time I learn a new way to look at, I want you to be the first person to know about my life. I'll do it later. There aren't many things I need to do right now. Words that are more seductive and I'll do something more damaging than that. After a while, it sounds reasonable, even logical. We tell ourselves we'll get to it indeed. But the truth is, later turns into the graveyard where most of the best goals are buried deep. Men know this, and a lot of them have. I learned the hard way that putting off what it takes away your time, not gives it to you. Of it every time we promise ourselves, we'll call us tomorrow, and we'll say sorry next week. We'll begin that job when everything is ready. Relax. We're playing with something that we can't change. I used to know a man named Thomas. Was a success by any measure, a rich business, a lovely family can trust in his neighborhood. But he was always busy. He told himself over and over that he'd be busy, spend more time with his old dad after work, when things weren't going well, so busy that he had to cancel the fishing trip. They had planned to call longer too. The visit was pushed back to catch up. stay and talk. And then one day they ran, found out that his father had died suddenly, and Thomas had a phone full of drafts he never sent, and a heart full of things he never said he told them about this after years. Not out of pity, but... We think we have time to warn you, though. Until we don't, the Stoics were very. Marcus Aurelius was clear about this fact. Told himself every day of his own death not to be gloomy, but to get his sense of urgency stronger. He wrote, "You could quit life right now if you wanted to. Pick and choose what you say and do. Are you sure that's not just a philosophical thought experiment is a way to practice? Way of thinking that smart men they adopt, because they know the time isn't right. Time doesn't wait for us when they have it. To get ready for it doesn't care about us plans or goals that we put off today, we might never get the chance to do. That's why wise men act now. Tomorrow, they finally make the call they've been putting it off, they do it first. Taking a hard step to heal a broken as a couple, they start the job. That has been tucked away in the corner of their mind, getting dusty, and not because it's simple, but because they know that while they wait for the right time is a risky game that I've seen that almost never pays off. In my own life, I put off talks because I didn't want to go through pain. I didn't write letters because I thought there would be time, but they stopped waiting and did something. Strong things happened, and the weight lifted. I no longer felt sorrow, and I realized that action, not purpose, is what makes a life worth living. Keep in mind that the Stoics taught us how to live soon fully and with haste is in fantasy that makes us feel better until it's too late. Late. The man who moves today who won't to not finish the important things doesn't feel bad about anything, and that's true knowledge because chances don't come knocking. Twice, it fades away quietly while we're busy. Can't wait for a better time 7. That's just the way I am. One of the ideas that holds me back the most. What a man can hold on to is put up in the it sounds like the line, that's just how I am. Clear, like a stop sign at the end, a statement. But what it really means is a quiet give up or a choice to stop. As guys get smarter, they should avoid this. Thoughts, because they know a truth that many don't see, is that we're not fixed beings stuck in old habits or forgotten selves. What we do shapes who we are. To do again and again, as soon as a one person says they can't change. He's not explaining who he is, he's turning away from responsibility for it. I've seen men lose too often when things like this happen. His anger a lot, and when he was told to calm down, he says, "That's just how I am," and shrugs. Another man stays away from real connections because it makes him feel bad of weakness and tells himself, these are not at all like the person I've always been. Facts that are said to be excuses that let fear and unwillingness to act like a sense of self. But deep down, what show that resistance is the reaction to pain, to the hard process of change, and face the fact that no man he is now the person he was meant to be. The Stoics faced this head-on. They taught that we are not slaves to our personality, our past, or our urges. Epictetus said it's not about things they are that bother us, but our judgments about them, and it's our nature that holds us back. We tell ourselves stories about who we are. Change is hard for some people. It takes self-reflection and a being ready to let go of what is known, even if that comfort has turned into a source of pain. But the Stoics thought that mastering oneself was the most important job, not because it was simple, because they had to in order to live. Of this means that growth needs honesty, needs us to work harder. Ask yourself, am I acting this way because it's really who I am, or because it's less work to do the work? To smart men who want to change, pick the harder wise people. Know that wisdom isn't the trophy you earn and then show off, make a promise to yourself to become a better person every day. Not because you don't like the person you are now, because you value yourself too much. Not to stay the same in the end, Being who I am is a way to shut the door on chance, but the Stoics tell us that life itself changes the world. When you fight it, you reject the very essence of living. The man who knows this and doesn't fear change is okay with it, because he sees himself as a work in progress that isn't finished but is ready and in. That willingness is where real understanding lies. If you've ever heard yourself say one of these 7 things, I know you're in good company, I've been there more often than I'd like to say, but here's the good news is that smart men they're the ones who never mess up. People who know them and choose to do. Yes, we're working hard to make things better, as you do here to get better. One well-thought-out choice at a time, so which one hit home for you today? Maybe it's time to leave, that's how I've always been. Or finally, take a break, I'll do it later. Turn into, no matter what it is, this is your to move on to the next step, because being wise doesn't mean being perfect. About staying interested, being humble, and always moving forward no matter what. The talk made you feel something. Share this video with a friend who is going the same way, and do it now if you haven't already. Pressing this button will take you to the next video.